Good evening. My name is Lisa Powers. I'm the chair of the Board of Library Trustees, and this is our March 25th, 2025 meeting here at the library. We have, let's see, we have 7 trustees here, 1 trustee absent, and we have 1 trustee, Purnima Takumala, joining us via Zoom. The first item on our agenda is review and act to approve the minutes of the February 25th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And Purnima, your vote is?
To move it, yeah.
I
Okay.
made that motion with gratitude to the minute takers.
Yes, yes, they are fabulous.
And the minute taker sends gratitude to the recording person.
Oh, yes, recording is helpful.
Yes.
So that passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is review and act to approve the report of the director's activities for the month of February 2025. And as usual, it was a very busy meeting with Priya. It was a very busy month for Priya.
Yes. Could you talk about the emergency response plan, the clerk? Student meetings?
I have it under miscellaneous.
Okay,
Is it
we'll
okay if
talk
I
about
talk
that.
at that
Okay.
time? Thank you.
Any update on the meeting with Joe Sexton, or is that something we had? The manager of public buildings? Did we talk about that a little bit?
I think we did.
Yeah, okay, the
Yes.
last meeting.
Well, the
Okay.
heat started working, or the weather has improved too.
Yeah. the
But
heat
he did say, the latest update is that they are doing a comprehensive study of the HVAC system. So they have invited a company called CES,
Mhm.
Engineering Services.
Which we will talk about a little bit later.
Yes, consulting engineer services.
Okay.
So,
Does anybody want to move to approve the report of the director's activities?
So moved. Seconded, whatever.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And Purnima, your vote is?
Aye.
So it passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Director's Report of Programs and Services for the month of February 2025.
I just had one question regarding preschool sports with Shrewsbury Club. I
Yes.
thought that association had been
yes, so we
Put on hold.
just
finishing it off. Gotcha.
the
Okay.
quarter that we had contracted with them.
I really loved the musical petting zoo and also Viking wire weaving. How cool is that?
Yes, I both went off very well. Great attendance and great
We have
appreciation
such
for
wonderful
it.
programs.
Yes, I know. I want to be here for everything, but unfortunately, I'm not able to.
So,
But really, hats off to all the programming people.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Really a wonderful range of programs.
Congratulations to everybody who went on the story walk at Lake Street Park in February.
It was a little slippery.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. It was,
But you did go.
Yeah.
I didn't go to
Great.
ground, but no, it was
Awesome.
nice. Yeah, no, we enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, like in the March book too. The March book is good.
yeah,
Yeah, great.
that's terrific.
how did you, I'm just curious, Priya, how did that musical petting zoo offering come about? Did we reach out to the Springfield Symphony, or
Yes.
did they? Oh, and
Yes.
they were happy to do that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So I
Our
assume they brought,
librarians must have gotten recommendations from other libraries
Oh,
or
okay.
something like that, and they must have reached out.
that's fun.
Yes.
How many book clubs are there, Priya?
Oh, we now have 5 book clubs
Five
that
book
are run by staff.
Yeah,
And then there are other book clubs that meet at the library. So, yeah, we have a book club that meets during the day, a book club that meets in the evening. There's a book club for people in their 20s and 30s.
wow.
There's a cookbook club, and there's a Spanish book club that is run by an outsider, not a librarian. And then we're just partnering with the DEIB committee in town, and they've started a book club that meets once a month on a Saturday at the library.
Wow.
So we have a number of
That's,
book
that's
clubs.
pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'd like to highlight these statistics that
Yes.
you share with us, Priya. And there's too many stats to share everything, but I just want to note that the library welcomed almost 22,000 visitors last month, and we welcomed 86 new library patrons who signed up for a new library card. We also, a lot of people don't realize that we have an outreach van, and this past month we delivered 983 items to over 62 individuals via our beautiful outreach van.
And I always like to highlight, and I probably will, as long as I'm on this committee, the fact that we are saving the taxpayers of Shrewsbury and some towns significant amount of money, because 8,449 ebooks and audiobooks. I know before discovering Libby and the library, I was paying $23 every time I got an audiobook. If you multiply $20 times the $8,000 just in this one month, the savings to people is significant, and people don't really realize that. I remember so well the discussion at town meeting when we were talking about the expansion of the library. People saying, that, with technology now, you don't need books, but I'll tell you, you've got to have a place to find it.
Right, no, it's all about access.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
about maintaining unencumbered access.
yeah, it is, and it's just wonderful. I'd just like to point that out because, when you start talking about budget at budget time especially, it's important for people to realize that there's a real financial benefit to the library in addition to the educational benefit.
I highlighted that at the finance committee meeting.
Yeah, great.
Thank you,
I'm
Mona.
sorry, I
That's
couldn't
such a
do
great point. Yes, so any more comments on the programs and services offered in February? Thank you, Priya, for just such a wonderful calendar. It's just so exciting, really a lot of fun to review. And actually, of note, there's another book club that meets, it's not a library-sponsored book club, but it looks like there's a New York Times Best Books of the 21st Century book group
Yes.
that meets here, and that looks,
That's pretty recent, yeah.
yeah, that looks like fun. So it's not only the library-sponsored book groups, but
Yes.
also
Yeah.
some private book groups, which is great.
And there are book groups that meet elsewhere, but they ask us to gather the books for them, multiple copies of books.
Oh,
So we do
nice.
that too.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
an
Adams
amazing
Farm.
service.
Yes, like
Wow.
the Adams Farm, they have a book club that meets in their property.
Oh.
And we provide the books. So anyone who requests multiple copies of books, we provide those.
So how many copies of books would that be?
10 to 20?
That's really,
So then you're
Wonderful
doing
thing.
the interlibrary loans?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
oh, very nice, I love that.
So if there's a community book group, so just so people watching at home, so if there's a community book group, they can come and ask the library and say, we have X number of people slated to read this
Right.
book, and we'd like to get extra copies of it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Instead of each member having to
Yes, yes, exactly. Just one request though, if you're
Yeah, we-
not the latest, the most recent books, it would be difficult to get
Yeah.
number
Get
of
that.
copies,
Yeah.
so.
Just one question
Something
on that. Do
published
people
last
need
year.
to be part of the CW Mars consortium? Because sometimes book club members don't live in Shrewsbury.
If
Doesn't
the leader of the group or the meeting is in Shrewsbury, we are happy to oblige.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
And of course, books are available through Libby and Ookla, so you can get ebooks or e-audio also.
Okay, shall we move on to financial and legislative? We have the year-to-date budget report.
Looks like we're on track.
I don't think I forgot to ask this before, but the first section is total library PEA, and the second is S&C. What do those stand for?
Professional, administrative,
Something along those lines.
professional,
We don't need this exact.
A is administrative. S&C is salaries.
Okay.
So salary and compensation?
Yes, usually S&W salaries and wages.
So yeah, so it says S and W in blue, but underneath it says total library S and C.
Right, S&C.
Has the longevity in there, so it's probably the compensation difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll find out, do you know, next time.
Well, there's two lines, right? Full-time and temporary.
Yeah, full-time, part-time, temporary. Full-time professional, PEA is professional administrative, East.
The ability
Maybe
to
it's
bring in books.
professional employees.
The ability to bring in books, have them delivered, looks like it's getting better.
The materials budget, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, it has gotten better. It's still not as it was before, as quick as it was before, but they're trickling in.
Do they pay when they ship?
No, we
When
pay
we
when
order.
we receive them. We
Okay.
get the
I wondered
invoice
when we were
only
signing the
after.
warrants, I was like, oh,
Exactly,
what's
so
coming?
we are continuing to order the books like the way we used to, but it'll only reflect in the expense after we've paid it.
But yeah, that was why we had a larger number a
Right,
couple of months ago, because we had not, we had ordered them but hadn't received them.
Right.
Okay, got it.
right, yeah. So we can encumber the amount in June even if we are not able to spend, even if we don't receive all the books, we can place the orders, we can encumber the amount.
Right.
And we know the big vendors, right, Ingram or Baker and Taylor and stuff like that, so we can encumber the amounts.
I move that we approve the year-to-date budget.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Purnima, what is your vote?
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is review and approve the fiscal year 2026 service calendar.
Is there a change here, Priya?
No, it's
Yeah.
on the same holidays, yeah, there is nothing new.
I move that we approve the fiscal
Before
2026.
you move, just wondering, we had talked about setting aside half-days every now and then for staff development. Just wondering if you have a sense of that for the following year. I guess my question is
Should
that
we
something
plan
that
it?
you still want to do?
Oh, yes,
And if
but-
so, would that be, how frequent would that be?
Yeah, we had said once a quarter.
quarter, okay.
Right, but we haven't.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We've
It's,
had a few
it's
other
been
things
ve-
to do.
it's been very difficult to plan because
Yeah.
of the staffing shortages and, you know, the
But that's, you're
change.
keeping that?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
The change in staff and stuff. So
That's a really good point, though, because staff development is so important. It's
Yeah, for
team
so
building
many
and morale
reasons.
building and everything else, so it's
Thank
really,
you.
it's really worth doing. Yeah.
The holidays follow the town
Yes.
calendar.
Yes.
Is there, I feel like 9 o'clock is really early to be open on Christmas Eve, and like town hall and things like that are closing. Like, is there any way, like,
The
they
day
close
before.
at 5?
The day before, you're saying, the day before
Christmas
Christmas?
Eve? Yeah.
Christmas Eve actually might change, so we always add this line to say the library will follow suit with any additional closings determined by the select board.
Right, but nobody else is open.
They
Fine.
will usually make Christmas Eve a half day. But we can't presume, we don't want to be presumptuous about it. So we keep it as,
That's a great
I don't
point.
like presuming on your behalf.
Yeah.
I think you should go home.
Yes. Yeah.
We should close at noon.
Well, a half day would be.
I think it would cost more to keep the library open than the number of patrons would be given.
I mean, not everybody celebrates, but.
Not everybody celebrates,
still.
but the number of people coming through, I'm not sure that, yeah, I guess it would depend. Our town demographics have changed, so I suppose it could be, but I would think by 6 anyway, right?
Yeah.
That's true, you should.
So I'll try to move the question one more time. Actually, you can move the question, then have a discussion of the question.
Oh, yeah.
But that, either way,
That's right.
yeah, either way.
You can move it, go for it.
We move the question,
I second that.
yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And Purnima, your vote?
Aye.
So it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Now, moving the question just ends debate. Now we have to
Right.
vote.
Only action.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
Yes.
okay, yes, okay,
Yes,
thank you.
okay.
Okay, so let's see.
So
Okay.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2026 service calendar as written.
Okay,
And do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
okay,
Second, okay.
okay, so we'll vote again. All those in favor of approving the fiscal year 2026 service calendar?
Aye.
All those opposed? And Purnima, your vote?
Move to approve the fiscal calendar.
Okay, so it really does pass unanimously. No confusion. Thank you. Okay, so let's see, the next topic on the agenda is facility, equipment, and grounds. And this is the
The
topic we
HVAC
alluded to earlier, the HVAC system. So any updates on that?
Yes, so I'll just read the message that Joe Sexton, the divisional manager of public buildings, sent me. As you all know, they've had a number of vendors come and look at technicians, vendors, contractual workers come and look at the HVAC system. And they discovered that the older section is heated by two separate systems, a heat pump system and an energy recovery unit, which is referred to as ERU. The heat pumps are roughly 10 years old. Some replacement parts are difficult to source or have long lead times. The units also have difficulty maintaining heating during extreme cold. CES Engineering, Consulting Engineering Services, will be assessing the heat pumps and developing a viable replacement. This will be dependent on available funding. While troubleshooting the heat pumps, it was found the ERU was also down. The issue with the ERU has been addressed and is currently heating the spaces in the old section of the building. Maintenance and troubleshooting for all HVAC units is done by our in-house staff, mechanical HVAC contractor, and controls HVAC contractor depending on the issue. So that's a summary of how it's being addressed.
They didn't have an estimate on the heat
No,
pump?
not yet.
Yeah.
Bob, I'll share that with you.
Yeah.
Very complicated.
It is complicated, yes. That's why they would come and say, oh, the ERU is not working, or this is not working. I said, could you please give me a short description of what is what? So he did that.
So if the parts are hard to source, maybe they will recommend.
Replace cycle.
So was the
Just wait
heat
and
pump
see.
so difficult to source?
No, generally,
It's the.
any part that
Any
might
part.
have to be replaced.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, so they're really basically recommending replacing the compressors, right?
So they are assessing it right now, and hopefully we'll get a recommendation.
Well, it sounds like they're going for a more thorough approach.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
With the, yeah.
yeah.
Do you know when we'll have a final sort of recommendation?
I don't know.
Yes.
And did I hear that how it's going to be paid for is a little up in the air?
Yes.
Okay. So you might be coming to the board for that, conceivably?
You'll see.
Okay. To be continued, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is gifts and grants. Anything under that?
There's no new updates.
Okay. And then the personnel, under personnel is evaluation of the annual evaluation of the library director, and we sent out the evaluation form to all the trustees. And I believe you have about another week to fill out the evaluation form. And then the personnel subcommittee will meet. It will be April, Purnima, and I. And we will review all the evaluations. We are also going to review the different salaries of similarly situated library directors from towns about our size, and just kind of assess where we're at in terms of compensation for Priya. And then we will meet with Priya, and then we will present everything at the April trustees meeting. So,
Priya, thank you for sharing the statistics. That was very informative. And Mo, thank you for bringing this up, because I've just been kind of la-di-da-di-da about salary. But doing some quick math, relying on my whole statistic type of theories, I see that really, if you just compare the 11 towns that are 35 to 40,000, the mean is 120,000, and the median is 118,379.
Yeah.
So, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
that's not what the director is getting now.
Yeah.
And
And,
though it says 2024, it's compiled based on fiscal year 23.
So it's actually
salaries.
probably not the most recent
Yeah.
salary, yeah.
Oh, actually, the director's salary is 2024. The other salaries of the other employees is
Yeah, I
fiscal
didn't
year
look at
23.
those.
Okay,
Yeah, I just looked
then
at
it's
the director.
2024.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 2024.
Yeah, but it was very interesting. It was also interesting just to see the range. And obviously, it's reflective of the socioeconomic status of the town, but it was still interesting.
Yes.
well, I think if you then compare that with the salaries that were listed in the newspaper for everybody in the town, you know, I think there's a very strong case for making a salary adjustment
I
for the director.
I agree.
You know, a really
Yeah.
strong case for that.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll go to the,
Personnel.
you know, it will be brought to the personnel committee of the town, and it's gonna, I'm sure it'll take some work, but I think hopefully we'll be successful at, making an adjustment to make the salary competitive. I mean, market rate is really where it's at. And, I had a chief operating officer, always loved to see me get a raise. I never even asked for one. He kept asking for me because he knew his salary wasn't going up until I got a bit more of a salary. And so really, it's also all the rest of the people who are key. And if we're not market competitive, it's going to get harder and harder to retain good personnel. So
Exactly.
we've got a great library. We want to keep it that way.
Yes, thank you, Mo, for bringing it up. Yeah, clearly needed. So that conversation, again, also will be continued. So let's see, and then the next item under personnel is we have a new head of youth services, Annie Lee King. So, yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so after Sanya became the assistant director, we had to backfill her position. And we posted that internally. We got 2 applications. We interviewed both of them and selected Annie Lee King as the head of youth services. Of course, she'll continue to be the teen librarian until we hire a new teen librarian. But it's all part of youth services, so she can manage. And Sanya is still here to help her.
She'll do a great job.
She will.
Yeah.
I had to smile tonight because there was a piece in the news, I didn't catch the town, but somewhere with a big mall. And the mall has just set up a policy where if you're, I think, 13 or younger, you must bring a parent or an adult with you
Or your ID
to the
card.
mall. And I just had to smile.
Was it in Massachusetts?
Yeah, it was in Massachusetts, yeah.
Oh.
I didn't even think we have malls anymore.
Can still go.
I guess so.
That is really funny. I like that. Okay, well, that's great news. Our next item on the agenda is the Shrewsbury Public Library Foundation. We had a wonderful talk by Dr. Russell Johnson on Thursday, March 13th. He's originally from Shrewsbury, and he talked about, well, he started off his talk saying how he spent countless hours at the Shrewsbury Public Library as a youth and how the library fostered his lifelong love of books, which I thought was fabulous. I just loved it. And he gave a wonderful talk. I don't know if you want to update us a little bit more, Mo, but it was a great talk about
How to have a civil discussion
yeah,
in a polarized world
yes,
and try to come to a win-win solution, which was not easy. I know that one of the takeaways for me was the power of the group that's not present. That, that's a very adolescent thing. When you're talking with a teenager, when they're answering your questions, in the back of their head is, what would my friends say if I answered this way or this way? It's been a classic kind of adolescent struggle, for their search for identity. Well, we have that for adults today, and that's really what he was saying, is that it's so hard to get people beyond the group and the group, pressure to think one way or another. And that if you can get outside of that, then people can have an open mind and be able to have a conversation. And it was, I think, really a great talk. And I thought the discussion after was even better because he really kind of got a little more practical for everybody. And
Louise did a great job. Louise did a great job.
yes, yes, yeah, Louise did a great job, and the great questions. And I loved question from St. John's kids, question from Notre Dame Academy kids, and they were good questions. So it was really, and we had like 150 plus people there, so it was well attended, and it was just a great event. And I'm looking forward to May when we have Dr. McManus come and talk about, is AI going to save the healthcare system, which is going to be an interesting conversation, and I think we'll get a pretty big turnout for that. And Geraldine Brooks, I have to tell you, just a quick little story. I went to the Tennant bookseller to get Horse, And then I got her a new book. I don't know if you know about her new book. I read about it in the New York Times. It's a book about the loss of her husband. And I bought it because we're going to meet her, and I wanted to know what that was all about. And I thought, you know, it's probably she's missing him, and I thought I'd give it to my wife so she knows when I'm gone how to handle that. But I, you know, the people, I'm going out, the cashier, and I said, we're going to have Geraldine Brooks at the shoes. She said, oh man, I love Geraldine. We got a whole bunch of people here who love Geraldine Brooks. We're all going to be coming. And I thought to myself, wow, she really does have a big following, doesn't she? Yeah. So that'll be, you know, that'll be probably a, you know, a much bigger venue. Yeah, yeah.
September.
So it's really exciting, you know, for the library to be sponsoring talks with large numbers of people coming, and a lot of depth and breadth to the conversations that are being held. So I think all of that's really terrific, and the foundation's just very excited that we've been able to, you know, raise the funds now to do some of these innovative things.
Thank you, Mala.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, the only other thing I'd like to report on, it's not necessarily a foundation thing, but we did have the first meeting of the event, gala, whatever, committee. It was a really great meeting, a lot of really good ideas. And I always say, every idea is a good idea, but we might not use every idea. But it was a great discussion, and I think we're off to a really good start. We're looking at a couple of options for almost everything, and we're going to be doing some research. We'll be coming back in May for a second meeting, hopefully with some research done, and we'll come back, you know, certainly in the fall. We're talking about 2026. We're not sure if it's spring or fall yet, but it's one of the discussions we're having, and we're doing some research about what some other groups in town, when they do theirs and that kind of thing. So it's a working group, and I'm very excited about it. Deb, I don't know if you want to add anything, because you were there.
No, I agree. It was a brainstorming kind of
Yeah.
session, and
Yeah.
it was fun. It's always fun. Those meetings are great because,
yeah.
you know, you never know what you're
Yeah.
going to come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds like fun.
Are you thinking of an annual event?
Oh.
We'll see how the
Yeah.
first goes.
Okay.
But
Too early to.
We're thinking of it, well, Mo
Yeah.
should share what your thoughts are about where it's going to be and that kind of a
Well,
thing.
actually, I mean, it was really a group discussion, because we had a lot of thoughts about, you know, I think we're thinking about having it in the library, if it's at all possible. We need to talk with the town officials about whether or not we can hire a caterer who gets a one-day liquor license so we can have beer and wine inside the library. The Worcester Public Library, I know, does that, and that's how they handle it, so we'll approach the town about whether that's possible. And there was discussions about inside and outside. I thought are interesting discussions about maybe having kids from the high school entertain, become part of it. And, you know, where the chief did, you know, funded that beautiful area outside the library in front. You know, if it was a nice night, wouldn't it be nice to have it, some of it out there? And we're talking, in fact, I noticed we're going to be approving sale of books by authors, the local authors, because we're talking, the Worcester Public Library does an authors event. And, you know, that's one idea that was, you know, that I gravitated towards, because we're not looking to do a sit-down dinner affair. So that is more of a 5 to 7, 5 to 8 kind of event, with, you know, maybe hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. And we'd have some authors here, and there are quite a few good authors in the area that we can draw upon, and maybe we can convince, you know, Krista Jalian to come back down from Vermont for the night, you know, for free. Who knows? Who knows what we can end up putting together. But even the food, you know, I mean, we talked about cater, but then we talked about Taste of Shrewsbury, and maybe take that approach to doing the food and getting some of the Shrewsbury restaurants engaged and involved in it as well, if they would be interested in getting involved in an event like that, and how would that work, would be something we'd have to kind of tease out. We got people researching that. And then, the question comes up, well, how much are we going to try to raise? And, for me, to get to $100,000 annual revenue for the foundation, we need to raise $50,000 at this event. And, I know everybody loves $50,000. Well, we'll put together a business plan that will show that we could, and we should be able to do that. I know UMass alone gives the Worcester Public Library more than $50,000 as one sponsor for their event. So that just gives you an idea. And UMass is right down the street here in Shrewsbury. So I'm hopeful that they'll see the Shrewsbury Public Library as important as the Worcester Public Library. So it just gives you a little bit of a flavor of the kinds of things. There's research being done about the caterer, research being done about the time of the year and the spot, and we're going to do some research about how the numbers would actually work out. And you will all be involved. You will all be involved because the bottom line on the numbers is going to be, if everybody could find one business that, would sponsor the event, it would make all the difference in the world. And we'll put together a pyramid showing how many of what types of sponsorships we need to get to the $50,000. And then we're going to ask, and we want to have at least one or two people willing to try to get in each of those categories. And if we all chip in, I'm pretty confident that we can do it. So I'm always optimistic anyway. We'll see. So that's it. Thanks.
That's a
Thanks
wonderful
to the
update.
committee. Thanks to everybody that's here on the committee. And the last thing, I got to mention this. It's a joint venture with the Friends. This is not just the foundation. This is a joint venture. It's a library event, a together library event, kind of reinforcing our annual report.
Yeah, the 3 boards.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
Yeah.
Friends, Trustees, and Foundation Board.
Yep.
It sounds fantastic. Okay, so the next item on the agenda actually is the Friends of the Library. Any updates on the Friends? I wasn't able to make the last meeting.
I wasn't either. We're also exploring fundraising ideas, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, I think that the applications for the scholarship they're due.
They're
Soon to be fourth,
Right?
right?
Too soon.
April
Soon.
so
Yeah, so you have a couple more weeks, get them in.
So, just as a reminder, I think it's, what is it, a
$1,500, yeah.
$1,500 scholarship
Yeah.
for any high school senior in Shrewsbury,
Shrewsbury.
whether the public schools or the private schools.
Right. Correct,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It's exciting.
a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah.
So if you have a high school senior at home, have them submit their application.
Yep, that would be great.
The application is online on the library website,
Mhm.
or you can pick it up at the library.
Mhm. Okay. Next item on the agenda is policies. I think we have nothing. And then, under miscellaneous, we have review and act upon a statement of concern submitted by a patron. So.
Share
um,
that with all of you.
Yeah, so, did you want me to, there was a concern about a book in the children's room. The name of the book is A Map for Palestine by Misa Oda. The patron says the entire book is not something I agree with, as it is being used to promote a historically incorrect, one-sided agenda. And the patron asks that the book be removed from the shelf, saying it's a harmful book.
And that seems to center on throwing stones, is one page.
Yes.
And I just have to say that I looked at, thank you for sending out the video. I read the book before I read about the book, and I didn't even notice the stone thing. It's like, it was, yeah, it was very subtle. It was just a small
And it's not
part of the book. Yeah,
you know, like it's not.
I also didn't really notice the stone throwing.
yeah.
And I just sort of noticed the overall arc of the book.
It kind of broke your heart.
Yeah.
And Palestinians are not the only people to have experienced this.
Right, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different populations that are living in diaspora
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
And I also, in addition to reviewing the book itself, I also looked at the links that the concerned patron sent. And they're all, as far as I can tell, they're all about 10 years old or more. So they don't really, there's nothing in what she sent that speaks to what's going on currently. And I think it's important to recognize that while that particular page and that incident was triggering for her, and that's always a difficult thing for any of our patrons to experience, it's not as though the book, it's not as though that were the sole topic of the book.
Yeah, I think that the subject, I think we all agree, is a very sensitive area that people have very strong feelings about. But I think the book itself tells the experience from one of those that are involved in it and respectful of that.
So the book was published in 2024 and received very good reviews from library professional journals. And in the CWMR system, there are 45 copies. That means other libraries have also made the decision to purchase and keep the copy in the collection.
Right. So actually, Nora could not make the meeting tonight, but she did write a email that she sent to Priya, and I agreed to read the email. So she says, "Dear fellow trustees, I regret that I am unable to attend today's meeting in person, but I wanted to share my position regarding the recent request to remove Map for Palestine from our library's collection. After careful consideration, I strongly recommend that we decline this removal request, consistent with our previous decisions and our commitment to intellectual freedom. Public libraries serve as cornerstones of intellectual freedom in our communities, and our mission is to provide access to diverse perspectives and information that represents the full spectrum of human experience and thought. The American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights has guided our policies and clearly states that libraries should provide materials and information representing all points of view on current and historical issues, and that materials should not be prescribed or removed because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval. I would like to remind the board that we faced a similar situation previously when a patron requested the removal of Eric Allison Bechtel's Fun Home, an LGBTQ graphic novel memoir from the young adult section. In that case, we collectively upheld our commitment to intellectual freedom by retaining the book in our collection. While some members may find certain materials uncomfortable, inappropriate, or contrary to their beliefs, our public libraries must serve and represent everyone. Libraries are safe spaces that hold, share, and amplify narratives of human experience. They are not spaces for policing stories. Removing the book would contradict our commitment to intellectual freedom and would set a concerning precedent. Our library must remain a place where community members can make their own choices, explore diverse viewpoints, and reach their own conclusions. While I respect the concerns of the patron, I believe we are responsible for upholding multiple perspectives, especially on complex global issues. And I encourage us to consider offering additional, and I think this is a good point, additional resources that present various viewpoints on history, politics, and culture, rather than removing existing materials. Thank you for considering this perspective, Nora Ali. So, yeah, a very good letter. I do, agree with her that I don't think we, we can't be getting rid of books in our library. We need to have intellectual freedom and teach critical thinking to our children. And I do think we should maybe try to have some other books that represent various viewpoints on history and politics and culture. I think that would be a great idea, and I did briefly talk to Priya about that, and I think there are some books that you have.
Yeah, we continue to, get as many diverse viewpoints as possible, especially in the children's room. There are many books published on different viewpoints, and we purchase them based on reviews, etc. We recently got a donation of 10 picture books and chapter books by this, all from the publisher called PJ Library. And these are books that give the Jewish perspective. And the patron who reached out to us is also aware that we have these books, and she approves of those books. So we do have representation of different viewpoints.
So the statement you just read, is that what you're planning on sending to the patron?
That is a note from Noor, our trustee board member. If
She
all
was
of you agree, then
She wrote it to all of us. She wrote it to all of
And
us.
if I heard it correctly, and my hearing isn't the greatest, but if I heard it correctly, because I thought the statement was excellent, and there was a thing in there that if the person who has concerns has recommendations for books for us,
Exactly.
that's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I would move that we approve that excellently written statement.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot that you can use for your letter.
Yeah, that's true. We could write a letter back. There's a lot to use from her letter. That's right.
I think that
So,
Yeah.
the ALA Bill of Rights is really important.
Yeah.
And I think that people can choose what they check out from the library. We're not policing what is here, but people can make a choice
And if a child,
what they would
Check that
pre-reading
out.
for their child.
then their parent can then return it, as opposed to the library
Right.
being the people that make that decision.
No,
Yeah.
the other
I didn't
person.
like this book.
She's
I'll tell you.
You didn't like it?
I absolutely did not. But I like censorship.
Much less.
But I think that it did not encourage violence. It said we threw stones. That's not encouraging violence.
Not
The
really.
the patron mentioned
On a border.
glorifying violence, and I felt like it was
I
pretty
didn't think that was
subtle in
glorified
the.
at all with that statement.
Right, and
Yeah,
I think a
I
lot
picked
of
that up.
times things are in there that if you pick up on it, you do, but a lot of children won't. And
Right.
especially because it isn't in the art either,
Yeah.
that it's not something that might.
Yeah, the art
might
is
tune in.
very
I
soft.
understand the sensitivity for sure, and I'm really glad that we have this process, that people can raise concerns, and it's good that we talk about it and we process it and we synthesize it, but it sounds like we all feel like
If a parent,
retain it.
oh, I'm sorry, April. If a parent comes in and approaches the librarian downstairs and says, gee, do you have another viewpoint? Is there a list or a resource that can easily be provided?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
We
do
have
think
so many of these books on display too,
Yeah.
because we celebrate everything in the
Yeah.
children's room.
The email you shared with us last month and at the
Exactly.
Finance Committee meeting specifically mentioned the displays in the children's room
Yeah.
and how diverse and what a nice range of books displayed.
Yeah.
Well, I know personally that if we ban books because of one, sentence in a book that somebody didn't like, we wouldn't have any books in the library probably. So, I just want to congratulate Noah for taking that on and writing that excellent statement, because I think it captures our commitment to inclusion of all points of view and a dialogue for understanding between different positions.
Yeah. I think you raise a great point, Mo, is that it does set a dangerous precedent to exclude books based on, personal preferences. And I also like what Jeff said. He said that he doesn't personally like the book, but he dislikes censorship even more. And I think that's right. We don't have to all love the book, but we want to have free access to books and information. So I do think that's right. Any other comments? Purnima, do you have anything to say or add? I know there's been a lot of discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to, I mean, I have to say, I agree with Mo that Noor has written out an excellent statement. I also would like to add that when we respond back to the patron, it would be good for us to include that the library picks and chooses books not at random, but after reviewing, after going through other reviews, and we don't go against recommendations provided by the CW Mars. You know, we are very careful in the books that we choose to keep in the library.
Thank you, Purnima. That's a great, that's so true. Thank you. Any other discussion points or comments or questions? These are very sensitive topics, and we definitely love to hear from the library patrons, and I'm grateful for the expression of concern, and yes, great to have the dialogue.
Well, it goes back to Dr. Johnson's talk, right?
I was actually
Yeah.
just thinking that I hope she's able to see that
Yeah.
on the screen, the recorded session, so that she can understand that you don't have to agree with it, but
Right.
that book isn't necessarily there for her. So,
And on a practical note, how are we going to respond? Are you?
I will respond.
You will? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it was reviewed by the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was a unanimous decision made, et cetera.
And I would include a
Definitely.
lot of the narrative that came from there. Okay,
Yes.
great, okay. Okay,
So, does anybody,
Do we need to?
I think-
You need a
I think
motion?
we-
I do think we need a vote on
Yeah.
this.
Okay,
so-
then I move to respond to the statement of concern by saying that we're going to keep the book on the shelves for the reasons that we discussed at tonight's meeting.
Do I have a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Purnima, your vote is?
To keep the book on the shelf.
Okay, so it passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Okay. The next item on our agenda is approve $1,500 in state aid funding for the summer reading prizes. I know we do this
Yeah,
every
we do
year.
this every year. It's $500 for children, for $500 for teens, and $500 for adult participants in the summer reading program.
And I do remember how much my girls loved those prizes.
Adults love
Always
prizes.
love
too.
And the adults love the prizes too, yes.
The adults are getting
Kids
kind
at
of
heart.
shortchanged here, aren't
Pardon? Pardon?
we? The adults are getting kind of shortchanged in this deal.
Yeah.
No, I said 500.
You know, it's 500, 500, yeah.
Oh, it's more difficult to
kids
find
out, yeah.
prizes for adults. It's children, you can find so many options. for.
Plastic bracelets was not cut.
And I move that we approve the 1,500.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Purnima, do you have a vote on that? What is your vote?
Yeah, to have the 1,500 in state aid for summer reading prize.
So it passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is approve the sale of books by authors at the local author showcase on June 25th. Is that that's the summer reading kickoff,
So
right?
usually what we do is we have one day of summer reading kickoff, and we have activities for kids and teens, and we have the authors, mostly in the hallway or outside, and then we have ice cream and all of that. We cram everything in one day, one evening's activities. So this time we are planning to have two days of summer reading kickoff kind of things. June 23rd will be the kickoff with a music program or a program for kids and families to enjoy and activities geared towards younger folks. And June 25th, we are planning the local author showcase and ice cream. So that'll be a draw for both. So that's the plan. And we've already reached out to about 25, 30 authors.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, throughout the year, we get, emails and messages from authors who want to come and read their book or promote their book. And I think this is a nice way of having it one day's activity. So it's always a hit.
That's
How
fantastic.
close do you have to live to be local?
Massachusetts.
That's fantastic.
Well, I move that we approve the sale of books during the summer reading festival kickoff.
Anybody want to second it?
So,
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm abstaining because I'm going to be there.
Oh, right, that's a good.
Doesn't
yeah.
it feel like a
I'm glad
conflict
you're
of
gonna be there.
interest? So
I'm glad you're going to be there, that's awesome. Purnima, do you have a vote on that?
Yeah, approve the sale of books by local authors.
Okay, so it passes unanimously with one abstaining. That's fantastic. And then, next item on the agenda, which sounds very interesting, is the update on the emergency response plan. I know you
Yes.
met with the Clark University
Yes,
students.
so this has been on my agenda, to-do list for past couple of years because our disaster plan or emergency response plan is 10 years old. We have one that we created in 2015 and I wanted to update it. 2015, the old building, so it wasn't even a new building. So definitely it needed to be updated, but I've not had the time to do it. And by stroke of luck, these grad students from Clark University approached me saying that they would like to partner with the library to do a sustainability project. And I pitched this idea. I said we have an emergency response plan that needs to be updated. And there is a template with there are multiple templates that the MBLC and the MLS have. So it's not, creating it out of nothing. We have the template. And it just needed a little bit of coordination and working on it. So they were very happy with the project. Their professor approved it, and the students have come and we've had discussions. I connected them with the fire department, the fire chief, with the police chief, and the public buildings divisional manager. Because anything that we do in the building, we want the first responders, their input also. So it's coming along very well. They shared the first draft, they're working on the second draft, and their final presentation is going to be in April, and they are going to come here, and their professor is going to come here. We're going to do it on a Friday morning, and so that all our staff can watch it. And so I'm really excited at the way it's shaping up. And of course, I'll share it with you all once it's ready.
is it any type of, so it could be like a flood, maybe a natural
Yes.
disaster or a
Right, any kind of, yes, disaster. Water, first water, fire, those kind of things. And then, it's something else that, perpetrated.
What a helpful project.
Yes.
What a great service they're providing for us.
Okay.
It's a win-win.
If I remember correctly, I could be wrong about this, I forget what the event in the country that occurred, that all of a sudden we all had to do emergency response plans. But at the time, I remember Clark students actually went to England and worked with a company over in England and did a response plan. My grandson happened to be in that class. And so I know we all had to do it, and, involves everything from succession planning,
Exactly.
to, how do you get everybody out of the building in a quick order, and
Yeah.
who's in charge, and how do you deal with the press, who's going to be
Yes.
responsible, I mean, all those kind of things.
Yeah,
And everybody had to do one, and I bet everybody's needs to be updated, because
Exactly.
we haven't had a push
yeah,
to do it again, and it's a lot of work.
yes, it is.
It's a lot of
It's a
work.
lot of work. It's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the class?
Pardon?
Do you know what the class is?
Oh, the students
Is it like
are
a policy
MBA, they
class?
are MBA students.
Yeah, yep.
Right?
And so Clark's a great resource for this, and we should,
Yeah, I
Of
must
course,
say
we-
they're very sincere, the
Yeah.
students have been
Mhm.
great. We've had Zoom meetings, we've had in-person meetings, and the fire department and police department have been very responsive. Fire chief himself came, and we had a meeting to discuss various things, and, yeah, we'll be having a meeting with one of the lieutenants from the police department.
yeah.
Not that this needs to be said, but I'll say it anyway. It's also just meeting one of our goals, which is to really
Exactly.
work
Right.
with other departments.
Yes.
And what a real way of doing it.
Right,
You know, who's going to do
absolutely.
what and who's going to say
Absolutely.
what. Yeah,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the town has also been working on, continuity of operations and this kind of thing, but we have our own separate facility. The town hall is different and fire station is different. We have our own facility. So having a plan that addresses, our needs, I think is important.
Do you foresee having any practice runs, like in hospitals when we have practice runs
patrons
here?
Kind of evacuation, yeah. Evacuation procedures.
yeah.
So that'll be a topic of
Yeah.
the whole city. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Does it have to be approved?
I can't believe we're having this conversation. We have a new neighbor next to us, who just moved in, 2 little girls, and we just went over and said hi to them a week ago, so this is the first time we met them. And then we happened to bump into the mother at the theater on Friday night, and I don't know how it came up, but emergency plans came up, and she told us that the plan is we're all meeting under your pergola if we have to. So, I thought, here we are talking about this, and I thought, oh my God. Yeah.
Have a plan.
Yeah. They have their own emergency plan. Good. Anyway, that's terrific, and when, it's so important to, appreciate not only the students, the professor, and one of the ways for the professor, of course, is to write a little note to the president saying, this is a wonderful resource for the community. This professor and the students have really done a great job, so just something for, as we go through the tail end of it now.
Who needs to approve that disaster plan? Like, do the police and fire need to sign off on it, or is
I
it
don't
more
think
like
so. I think
site-based?
it's more internal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are grateful to them for giving their input on their specialized areas.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the public facilities also.
great.
Very nice.
Well, I just have one thing to talk about, and that's federal funds to libraries.
Yes.
Yes.
Um,
Second
So,
question.
yeah. So as you all know, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or the IMLS, is the largest source of critical federal funding for libraries. And last week, an executive order was signed that targets federal funding to libraries and museums through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. So I have a quick note from the MBLC stating how Massachusetts libraries will be affected by this. And they say that 13 of the MBLC's 23 staff members are at least partially funded through IMLS funds. The statewide research databases that all Massachusetts library patrons have access to is funded by federal funds. The Commonwealth catalog that allows people to borrow books from other consortia in the state beyond CWMARS. That's funded by the MBLC, which is getting the funds from the IMLS. The statewide ebook program, not the Libby and Overdrive, but there's another one called the Library eBooks and Audiobooks Reciprocal Lending, which again allows CWMARS patrons to access books from other consortia in the state. You know, a few years ago, we could only borrow ebooks from the CWMARS catalog. Now you can borrow from any of the other libraries, and that's because of MBLC uses the IMLS funds for that. Data collection and reporting is done by the MBLC, and we use that. And federal funding also supports the E-rate program. So a lot of things will be affected, and the impact on Shrewsbury, we received the LSTA grant for preservation assessment, and we had received a note from the MBLC saying that we were one of the 18 libraries in the state to have received the preservation assessment award. But within a week, we got another email from them saying that because of the federal decree, that there's no guarantee that we would get the funds. And then today I got another email saying the contract will be sent to your town, please sign it and send it back to us by March 31st. This is still not a guarantee that you will get the funds, because I think everyone is uncertain about what's going to happen. So it's affecting the state for sure. It's also affecting Shrewsbury.
The question I had, Priya, when I read that material was that our state funding could be federal funding, not state money. Do you have any idea on that?
State aid funds will not be affected by this.
It won't be?
No, that
Okay.
comes from the state legislature.
Okay,
They have to pass
Yeah.
that in their budget every year.
yeah, okay.
So only these things that I
Okay,
just
good.
mentioned, those
Good,
would
because
be-
there's a lot of state
Yes,
program
state aid is
that
not.
people think is state dollars, but it's really federal money, pass-through, especially true in education, for example. I know there's a lot of examples of that, so I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
us. Yeah. So our next meeting is April 22nd, and
Is that the week of school vacation? I don't know. Okay.
I think it is actually.
Okay.
I think you're right. It is the week of school vacation.
I didn't know.
I will be here, yes, even though I'm a school child. Yeah, and just as a reminder to our viewers, we have, let's see, I think 7 of the trustees here. One was not able to make it, and we do have Purnima Tetumala joining us via Zoom. And that's about it. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And all those opposed? Purnima, your vote?
Aye.
So the motion is adjourned. Thank you. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.